Cheers, y'all. How's it going? I am still alive. I'm still here. I feel like I should probably just kick off every video with that. I know it's been a little bit delayed between uploads recently, but I am back with some fun announcements. Cheers, y'all. How's it going? It has been a few weeks, I think at this point. It has been a crazy few weeks. I have learned the lesson again and again and again that basically anytime I take any sort of hiatus from running, my whole daily routine falls apart. My days start with running. It's my most productive part of the day, and it just kickstarts my day. It gets me going, so the rest of my daily routine falls into place. And without that sort of kickstart to the morning, so much stuff just falls by the wayside. I find it very hard to keep up with all the productivity, everything like that, YouTube videos, etc. So it has been a tumultuous last couple of weeks, but I am back with another video with an exciting announcement because I am trying to get back into that running routine because, believe it or not, we are just 100 days from the New York City Marathon. I cannot believe it is this close. I am certainly feeling a bit nervous, especially just because I haven't trained for a real road race in well over a year now at this point, especially a marathon. In terms of my running experience with the marathon distance, I've only run 2 official marathons in the past, as well as 1 virtual race last year. My first marathon, my goal for time was to beat 4 hours, and I finished in I think like 4 hours and 9 seconds or 15 seconds, somewhere in there. Needless to say, it was less than a minute over the 4-hour mark, and it was devastating. Then I signed up for Rock and Roll DC. The following year would be my second marathon. Trained a lot harder for that race. Also had my coach on my side for that race. But what I was not prepared for was it was a significantly hillier course than I was expecting. Even still, finished that race in 3:53. So I snagged that sub 4-hour time I had been hoping for. My legs were definitely spent. And I ultimately left that race feeling really good because I knew had it not been for the hills, I really could have crushed a new PR, and so it left me very excited for my next marathon attempt. That's initially where the New York City Marathon came into play. I really wanted to run New York City ever since moving to New York. I've been very, very excited about this race, having gone to spectate a few years and just seeing how incredible of an event it was. I was originally registered for the New York City Marathon for last year, very excited for the race. Obviously, COVID, world shutdown, everything happened, so I did not get to run that race. But I did run my own sort of virtual New York City Marathon on that weekend, just in celebration to bring people together, bring friends together, and just still get out there and run. Again, something just to train for since there weren't any in-person races or anything like that, and still managed a sub 4-hour pace for that race. Was very excited about that since A, it was an unofficial course, and B, I also had a lot of friends come out and join me, and I was basing my race off of their paces. Full disclosure, I did pause my watch when I would stop at interchanges to trade runners because we would talk, chit chat for a bit. I would thank them for coming out, etc. So I did pause for that. Even still very, very excited by my running time, and even more excited with how good I was feeling by the end of the race. So those are the 3 marathons that I have going for me building up to this experience, but I know I have a lot of work ahead of me because I have a very lofty goal in mind. But before we get to that, a very important announcement. I will have a more formal video coming out hopefully next week or the week after with some more details about this, but I am running this race as part of a charity. I initially signed up for the New York City Marathon to support this charity that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is Caring Kind, specifically their Athletes to End Alzheimer's team. I lost a grandparent to Alzheimer's, my wife did as well, and can just see how devastating and debilitating of a disease that can be, and so just very, very excited to be raising money for such a worthwhile cause, and again, a cause that is very, very close to my family and I. If you would like to contribute, I've dropped a link down below so you can donate to my fundraising page. All of that being said, what is the goal for this year's New York City Marathon? It is the 50th anniversary of the New York City Marathon. That was going to be big enough. Now combine that with the fact that it is the New York City Marathon coming back after a year plus of the COVID pandemic, coming back from that, bringing runners together from all over the world. I could not be more excited to run such an incredible race. And so an incredible race calls for a slightly lofty goal, and I feel like that's sort of the name that I've started building for myself, is setting these kind of high off, strive for goals that are just within reach, I think, but will certainly require a lot of effort on the way to get there. 3:53 is my current PR, but for New York City 2021, I'm hoping I might be able to run sub 3 hours and 30 minutes. That is 23 minutes off of my current PR, almost a minute per mile. But again, I think I'm in the best shape that I've been in for a long time. I've got way more endurance than I've had in the other races that I've run. And I've also started incorporating much more strength training into my marathon prep work or just into my running in general. So again, certainly a very lofty goal, but I think having this goal in the back of my head is really going to help me to commit to the training plan, but also just motivate me to push myself so much harder on race day. So I am very excited. I understand that cutting 23 minutes off of a marathon PR is certainly a challenging effort, but I think I'm up for the challenge, and I am excited to share with you my journey to that hopeful 3:30 in November. That's sort of going to be the last part of this video, just talking a little bit about what my training is going to look like and some of the things that I'm switching up to prepare for New York City. One of the benefits of running with a charity is we kind of have our team of athletes that are running with that charity, the charity's team of runners, and we also have our own team coach that's creating kind of personalized training plans for the team, organizing group runs in the city, which I'm hoping to take advantage of once I go back to work in the fall. But it's kind of nice because obviously I have my personal coach that I've been working with for a while, and so kind of using those two resources in tandem, my coach, my personal coach, helping me to tweak the workouts that I'm getting from that team coach to really get the best that I can be. We're going to focus on base building in the beginning, just building up that endurance. Again, I've taken a few weeks off since the Mohican run, and so just want to make sure that I'm preparing my legs for the more difficult training that will come later on. So just focusing on the base building right now, form drills, hill drills, etc. Again, just building up volume, getting my legs used to some of that stress before really ramping up a little bit later on. So I've got a few more weeks of that before we shift more significantly into strength and speed work. I'm gonna need the strength in my legs, especially to support the muscles and hopefully stave off that muscle fatigue that I've experienced in marathons in the past. And then of course, once we've got that muscle built up, starting to work in some speed work. This is the first race. I can't even remember the last time I ran a race where I'm gonna have like actual goal paces in mind for some of my workouts. I know the speed that I need to maintain in order to successfully hit the 3:30. I'm much more used to kind of running by feel. So really looking forward to that interesting transition. And then of course at the end have the taper to just relax, recover, and peak right before that New York City Marathon. So that's a brief overview of the training itself. But outside of the specific run training, a couple of other things that I'm trying to focus on in this training block preparing for this race. One, it's sort of running related. I mentioned it before, but I'm just doing a lot more form drills, trying to improve my overall form, my efficiency when running, doing like 10 minutes of dedicated form drills before a lot of my weekly runs, hoping that that's going to pay off. That's something that I have not done in the past. And then a non-running related goal that I've really set for myself may come as a bit of a surprise, but just some significant dieting. And I don't mean like cutting calories or anything like that. I just know I have a very unhealthy diet. I eat a lot of fast food, a lot of junk food, a lot of frozen foods, and I have really just started to, I feel the effects of that over the last several months. So I'm also making a goal for myself for this training block to really just commit to starting out slow, maybe like improving just specific pieces of my diet, but then hopefully adding things in each week, each month, etc., so that by the time we're getting into like October, November, I have a much more well-rounded, much healthier diet. I think this might be a loftier goal than the marathon PR that I'm trying to set. One thing that I did get to help me, I've heard a lot of great things about the Run Fast, Cook Fast, Eat Slow cookbook. I have just started going through this, but really excited about the recipes that I've seen so far, but also just some of the tips about how to make cooking healthier foods easier, because I think that's one of the biggest barriers that I run up against. I will report back on some of the stuff that I learned from this book, but really just hoping that I can make some little improvements here and there to make an overall much more improved diet by the time we arrive on race day. So that's where I'm at currently. Again, apologies for the delays between videos, but I am starting to get back into my running routine, which hopefully means I'm gonna get into all of the rest of my productive routines that I used to have, which hopefully means more frequent videos, training updates coming back now that I have officially started training for the New York City Marathon. And just one last plug for the charity that I am running for, Care in Kind, the Athletes to End Alzheimer's team. If you would like to contribute to my team, again, the link for that is down below. I think I'll probably have some kind of practice races that I'm going to schedule along the way. I'm really just itching for a road race, so maybe in a month or two trying to find like a 10K, 15K, something like that. October, I'm looking at a half marathon potentially, and then of course that New York City Marathon on November 7th. So we are just 100 days away, tons of work to do, but happy to have you all along for the ride. Thank you for bearing with me during these hiatuses. Thanks for sticking around, and I am looking forward to having you join me for every step of this training process. I'll see you out there. Cheers.